A new report from the Daily Mail alleges then Vice President Joe Biden visited Ukraine and pushed Ukrainians to expand fracking just 3 days after his son Hunter Biden joined the board of gas company Burisma. The report, citing a former White House stenographer, claims senior official Jake Sullivan told the press during the trip the Obama administration was aiming to take advantage of unconventional gas reserves in Ukraine. Joining me now is Wisconsin Senator, member of the Senate Finance, Homeland Security, and Budget Committees, Ron Johnson. Senator, you were among the first to investigate influence peddling potential of the Biden family. What do you make of this new report in terms of Joe Biden going to Ukraine just 3 days after Hunter joined the board of Burisma? Joe Biden asking for more drilling.
Well, good morning, Maria. It doesn't surprise me at all. It really shouldn't surprise anybody. It certainly shouldn't surprise members of the mainstream media who've been covering up for Joe Biden for literally decades. This is all part and parcel of what the Biden family does. They trade off the family name. There's all kinds of conflict of interest. President Biden is now a compromised president. We may not know all of the financial entanglements he has, but the Chinese intelligence does, Russian intelligence, probably Iranian intelligence, and they're probably wielding that over him. It's a very sad state of affairs.
This is very disturbing, especially since we watch every day another provocative move from communist China. Does the mainstream media not recognize the national security risks at hand here?
Again, they're just covering it up. If you remember, the reason they supported the Russian hoax is because they're so concerned, apparently, that President Trump could be compromised by his dealings in Russia. All that was false. It was a complete hoax. And yet they tormented the president. They continue to torment President Trump. But Joe Biden, they don't even lay a glove on the guy. They refuse to investigate what should trouble every American, including members of the esteemed press.
Yeah, it is really troubling. Now, the New York Post columnist Miranda Devine is reporting that Hunter Biden was seen at an art gallery in New York City this week. He has his art displayed among some of the best artists out there. Her new column, Hunter Biden flashes a cocky smile as DA goes after Trump in legal double standard. She writes, quote, "If you ever want proof of a dual justice system, Hunter is the ultimate embodiment." Senator, it is questionable in terms of the Trump charges, while we are talking every day about this influence peddling evidence in plain sight of the Biden family.
It is, but again, I hate being a broken record here. It is the complicit and corrupt media that allows all of this. If we had an honest and an unbiased media, they would be outraged by the influence peddling. They would be outraged by the extent to which this president is compromised and the actions of his family compromise him further and continue to compromise him. But they're not. The mainstream media is by and large advocates for the left. They're going to cover up all the wrongdoings of Joe Biden. They're going to cover up all the policies that are weakening America and emboldening our enemies. That's what's happening in this world right now. America is becoming weaker with open borders, 40-year high inflation, the war on fossil fuel, rising crime in our cities, and our adversaries are noticing it, and they are on the move. Yeah. The world is a much more dangerous place when America is weak, and America is weak under Joe Biden. Really,
really disturbing. You told me a couple of weeks ago that the only bank that would give you any information in terms of bank records of the Biden influence peddling was Cathay Bank. I want you to know we spoke with Cathay Bank, and they say that this is an American bank, founded, headquartered, and publicly traded in the United States, proudly serving the Chinese-American community. They say they are not in any way owned or controlled by the Chinese government. What do you think about Cathay Bank giving those records to you?
Well, again, I thought it was quite telling. And, of course, that's exactly what TikTok told the House committee a couple of weeks ago as well, isn't it? So, I mean, I don't believe what they're saying right now. I appreciate the fact they turned over those records, but the fact that that was the bank that just willingly turned over those records, we didn't have to compel them, no subpoenas. They just turned it over. To me, that was a shot across the bow of the Bidens that this is the kind of information we can release if you don't do our bidding.
So you think basically Xi Jinping was sending a message to Joe Biden?
That's my supposition.
Yeah. What can you do about it at this point? James Comer is obviously picking up where you and Chuck Grassley left off in his investigation. What is your take in terms of where this heads next, given this clearly two systems of justice? Trump indicted, has to now be forced to go back on December 4th for a meeting which is typically for lawyers, a motion meeting, but they're demanding he go back, and it's right before really 2024 election season takes off. The first GOP primary debate is in 4 months.
Well, we'll do everything we can to help Chairman Comer and Chairman Jordan in their investigations. It's all about pursuing, uncovering, and exposing the truth. But unfortunately, the only people that expose the truth are people like you, conservative news media outlets. The mainstream media does not, and that's a big problem we have in our country right now. The biased, the complicit, and the corrupt media is really destroying this country.
Unbelievable. The House Judiciary Committee is now saying that it's, quote, seriously weighing subpoenas. A subpoena for the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, and two of his former prosecutors to testify in front of Congress. Congressman Jeff Van Drew told me in the last hour that it could happen within 10 days. I spoke to former Gorsuch Supreme Court clerk Mike Davis about the administration's involvement in this case. Here's what he said. I got to get your take, Senator. Watch.
That's when Alvin Bragg in December brought in this Matthew Colangelo, this political operative, political appointee. He served as the acting associate attorney general for Biden, the number 3. Bragg knew it was a zombie case until he brought in Matthew Colangelo from the Biden Justice Department to revive this zombie case.
So, Senator, what about this case? Should Alvin Bragg testify? Or you think there's going to go through with a subpoena here? Does Congress even have that ability to subpoena the Manhattan DA?
Well, I think they do. Let's face it, Manhattan DA accepts some federal funds. Federal funds come always with strings attached to them. So I have no doubt that Congress has oversight authority, certainly over those expenditures. Listen, this is a corrupt prosecution. It's a political prosecution. It is just galling to hear, again, complicit and corrupt members of the mainstream media talking about, oh, this is such a sad day. This is such a somber day. And then, they're clicking their heels. This is exactly what they've been waiting for. So it literally makes you gag when you listen to members of the mainstream media talk about how sad they are that Trump's been indicted. This is exactly what they've been wanting for the last 7 years.
Do you think it's going to stop Trump in terms of 2024?
Doesn't appear to. Again, I can't predict exactly what's going to happen here, but I do know that this is a completely political prosecution here. It just proves that we have a multi-tier system of justice. Yeah. This is not what a nation operating under the rule of law looks like.
Real quick, Senator, what's your priority in the Senate right now?
Well, from my standpoint, unfortunately, not chairman of a committee where I have subpoena power. So it's more difficult for me to compel testimony. But one of the main reasons I ran again, Maria, is nobody else was advocating for the vaccine injured. These vaccine injuries are real. They're serious. Okay. They're not all that rare. But that's what I'm going to be focusing on, because I think I can get a fair amount of information, uncover and expose the truth, at least as results to vaccine injuries. Senator, thanks for your work. We will keep watching it. Thanks very much. Senator Ron Johnson this morning in Wisconsin. Happy Easter to you.